Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems and welcome back to MX Simulator, where today we are playing the Thunder Valley National Track in MX Sim, and we're going to talk about the 2020 Thunder Valley National that just happened over the weekend in real life, recapping what went down, discussing a couple things, and we'll get you guys in and out of here in about 25 to 30 minutes. If you're new to this format, maybe you've never been here before, what I do is I just basically play this game and talk about the race for those 25 or 30 minutes, and it's kind of like a podcast, but it's also a good way for you guys to see some MX Sim gameplay on a track that maybe you haven't seen this year. This is the 2020 version of the track that was raced in MX Sim, so you maybe saw the broadcast on it, but you maybe didn't see any actual like gameplay footage on the track. So that's a good way for us to kind of show it off a little bit better, because the Race Factory Gaming track crew does a great job on these tracks every year. Now, even though it is a 2020 version of the track that they built, it's not a complete replica of the 2020 track because they built it months ago. So it's more or less based off of the 2019 track, which is why you'll see some sections are a little bit different. But for the most part, Thunder Valley hasn't changed a whole lot over the years anyway. So yeah, it's pretty kind of standard. Anyway, let's just go ahead and start talking about this weekend at Thunder Valley that just happened, the 8th round of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, which is also the penultimate round of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. We are heading into the home stretch already in this series, which in some sense is kind of like a, whew, that felt like it was a long time, but in another it's like, man, those 9 rounds go by really quickly, especially when you have like a double header at Redbud and you knock 2 rounds out really fast like that. So in a sense, I'm glad we're at the end of the season because it's good that we even made it to this point. In the other, it's like, man, where did the racing go? So yeah, we are here. We are coming to an end of the season, and just in time for Eli Tomac to start remembering who he is a little bit. He's talked a little bit about this season, how he's just been in a weird funk, hasn't quite got a groove going, has struggled to find the form that he normally has, and there's been a lot of theories going around about, well, normally Tomac is just in better shape than everybody else, and in the heat of the midsummer, Tomac's just the better guy in those conditions, whereas now we're racing later in the year, so it's cooler out and he's not showing off his prowess as well. But to me, that kind of got washed away this weekend because it was a rather cold day by normal outdoor standards for Thunder Valley. It was in the 60s, kind of high 50s most of the day, so that's pretty cold, and that's, you know, not like scalding hot like it normally is in the summertime where they're racing in 110 degree weather in Florida or whatever, where they just came from, you know, 90 degree weather in Florida. And Tomac, while he did have a good second moto in Florida, still just kind of looked more or less normal. But he beast moded a little bit in the second moto, no doubt about it. The first moto was so-so, but a bad start definitely doesn't help his case there. The second moto, though, he started walking through guys about halfway through, passed Cian Cerullo, started pulling away with the lead, had a little problem with his clutch, but kind of got it ironed out on the track, and then continued to pull back away. And to me, I just feel like that was very vintage Eli Tomac that we saw again, that we haven't seen much of at all this year. And it's good to see that it's back, but it's also a bummer because I feel like that was the Tomac a lot of people expected to see all summer long. It would have made this championship a little bit more interesting from his perspective. But at least we know going into next year that it's not like Tomac has completely lost the ball. He is still going to be pretty dangerous moving forward, and obviously coming in as defending Supercross champion, he's going to want to be on his A game with a plethora of guys that are going to want to take him down once Supercross comes back in 2021. But goes 3-1 on the day, wins the overall, and he actually split the overall win, if you will, with his teammate Adam Cian Cerullo, who scored the same amount of points as him, but did the opposite scores of him, which is going 1-3 when Tomac went 3-1. The second moto is what determines your overalls if you tie, so Eli, having the better second moto, wins the overall on the day at his home race in Thunder Valley. And yeah, I mean, I guess he's back, but at this point, a little bit too little too late. I think he's 47 points down in the championship, so mathematically he is still alive going into Pala this weekend, but it's pretty much over from that vantage point. Like, even if Osborne DNFs, Tomac still has to outscore his teammate Cian Cerullo by a bunch and outscore Marvin Musquin by a pretty good margin of points as well. So Tomac, I already felt like was out of this championship 3 or 4 rounds ago, but kind of cool to see him still have the little bit of mojo that he has left. go out and win for the home crowd, which there was actually a good little crowd there this weekend at Thunder Valley. It's not always the case with everything that's going on that we have a crowd, but this weekend there was a good crowd, and there's supposed to be a fairly decent crowd at Paula that is going to be able to make it into the race, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, championship-wise, this is definitely coming down to Zach Osborne or bust. He pretty much salvaged all the points he needed to on a day that he looked so-so. It sounds like he's dealing with a little bit of a problem. He kind of banged his ankle and is dealing with some issues of putting pressure on his foot. But it could have fooled us. In the second moto, he looked pretty good there. The first moto is where it definitely was noticeable. He kind of dinged it and went from a couple seconds off the lead to finishing over 30 seconds off the lead, but still was good enough for fourth. So he goes 4-2 on the day, and it could have been a lot more bleak, I guess, had he gone 4-3 and Cianciarulo won the second moto, which Cianciarulo at one point was leading and Osborne was in third again. So if you look at it from that vantage point, Osborne would have lost 12 points to Cianciarulo when he had a 29-point lead coming into the day. So those 12 points drop it down to 17. Definitely is a little bit more, I guess, hair-raising in that sense, because we've seen Osborne lose more than that in a single day already. But now, with Osborne being able to beat Cianciarulo in the second moto, AC having a really close call, almost going down, and then trying to catch Osborne and just rushed a pass on him and ran into the back of him and went down again. Or didn't go down, but went off the track. Left Osborne alone for second to score more points than Cianciarulo in the second moto, but lose 5 points ultimately on the day. So now he has a 24-point lead in the championship going into the finale, in which he is trying to clinch his first ever 450 class championship in either indoors or out or MXGP or anything along those lines, which Osborne has obviously been over in Europe and raced before, but never quite stepped foot in the MXGP class over there. So yeah, this is crunch time for him. We've seen people blow championships at Paula before, so it's not like he's got this thing completely in the bag, but it's about as in the bag as you can get it. I'm curious to see this weekend at Paula whether or not Osborne pushes the envelope just that little bit more to beat Cianciarulo in the first moto so he can lock down the championship, because if he finishes more than, or basically if he just finishes in front of Cianciarulo, because he needs to have a 25-point margin after the first moto to clinch the championship a moto early. I wonder if that's something he's going to try, and that's going to be my comment question of the day for you guys today is, in Moto 1 at Pala this weekend, is Zach Osborne going to more or less throw caution to the wind and try to put this thing to bed one moto early so he doesn't even have to think about it in the second moto and lifts the weight off his shoulders? Or does he just play the entire day safe, ride it home in a couple fourth or fifth place finishes so that he guarantees he locks the championship down and doesn't do anything silly like crashes or has some sort of bike malfunction for pushing too hard? That's my comment question of the day. Osborne sends it at Paula for the early championship or plays it safe all day long? What do you guys think? Happy to hear your guys' thoughts as always in the comment section below about anything, but that is then going to be the question that I pitched to you folks today about what you think is going to happen. As for Cianciarulo, it is pretty much go for broke at Paula. Obviously, pretty much needs to go 1-1 and hope something happens to Osborne. I don't think that there's going to be any sort of foul play along those lines. There's always the talk of that when there is a potential for a championship swing of dramatic proportions on the line in this situation. Cianciarulo needs things to really go his way, like a DNF would be huge out of Osborne for Cianciarulo. I don't think he's really banking on anything like that. I'm pretty sure in his mind he's just going to try to go win the motos, get another overall win, and go home happy with second in the championship in his first full rookie season on a 450, which has been outstanding. You know, I think Cianciarulo even realizes it at this point. Like, I think there was a couple rounds in there where he was a little bit bummed that he was losing points towards the championship, but it quickly curtailed back into him being stoked that he's even in the position that he's in versus, being bummed that he's not going to be able to clinch the championship this year. Because the reality is, winning the championship in your rookie year is so rare that only 2 people have ever done it, for one. I think more people have done it outdoors, but 2 people have only ever won Supercross titles on a 450 indoors. The last rookie to win a 450 outdoor title was Ken Roxon in 2014. But as mentioned, I think that Cianciarulo has reserved his opinions on it a little bit and been pretty contrite to the fact that it's been a really good season. He's won overalls, he's won motos, he's going to finish probably second in the championship in his rookie season and try to move into that #1 role at Kawasaki next year, which, I don't know, I think it's a little bit more up for grabs than anybody thought it was going to be at the end of the season. Like, Tomac was clearly the guy in Supercross down the stretch because Cianciarulo kept crashing and getting hurt, and you came into the outdoors and you thought, well, Tomac, 3-time defending outdoor champion, got a rookie teammate that crashes all the time next to him. I think Tomac is pretty clearly the guy on this team. Like, I don't think we need to worry that Cianciarulo is going to take his #1 status or anything along those lines, but I don't know. I feel like coming into the Supercross next year after what we've seen out of Cianciarulo, there's going to be a bit of a, not so much of a changing of the guard, but kind of like an actual battle of teammates at this point. It's not just going to be cut and dry that Tomac is the guy Kawasaki's putting the attention into. I think Cianciarulo absolutely has a case now to say, hey, I think I can win this championship in 2021, and I'm going to give it everything I got as well. So, yeah, pretty crazy to see how things are changing. I feel like we're almost on the verge at this point of a pretty true changing of the guard in a sense, because the last, obviously Dungey was mixed into this after Villopoto retired in 2015, and Dungey won a couple more years after that. But I feel like 2015 was more or less the coming of age for Roczen and Tomac and Musquin and eventually Anderson and guys like that. And I think we're probably only a year or two away from that being behind us, which is kind of weird to say. Like, I think that Tomac is either going to go 1 more year and be done or 2 more years and be done. I don't think he's going to go much longer than that. Everybody's pointing to Musquin's contract expiring after next year, that he'll be done then. I think Jason Anderson probably has a couple more years in him. Ken Roczen's contract goes until the end of 2022, but whether or not he sees it all the way through, I guess remains to be seen. Again, I think we're going to start seeing guys like Cianciarulo, in a sense. Osborne probably is going to outlast those guys, even though he's older. He's still kind of fresh to the 450 class. Cooper Webb, obviously, a Supercross champion now as well. And then we've got Dylan Ferrandis stepping into the series next year as well. Chase Sexton. This is going to be very interesting to watch how this all shakes out in the next couple years, because you never, like, at the time, I think like 2009, for example, is a year I like to point to. At the time, when Stu and Reed were going at it for the championship, I feel like everybody looked at that as like, these are just going to be the guys for the next couple of years. Like, there's going to be no chance that somebody's going to step up and dethrone them, because they were winning every round and they were super competitive with each other, so it created a great rivalry. But that 2009 season was the last time James or Chad won a championship. Chad won the outdoors, James won the indoors, and they never won a title again after that. We saw the Ryans come of age after that, and like, the changing of guards happened so fast sometimes that you don't even know it's coming. So that's kind of why I'm hitting on this now, because as we're seeing, Osborne is about to win a championship and kind of take Tomac's titles away from him here. We've already seen, Webb can challenge indoors. I think these guys are coming and going to start winning championships over these older guys sooner than you think. And it's kind of crazy to think that it's going to start off with Osborne being the older statesman to do it first. But looks like how it's going to happen this weekend at Paula, if Osborne can bring it home and clinch the title, which I think I have to look a little bit further back. I've wanted to look through this. It's either going to be like Tony DeStefano or a couple other people that would be about the same age as Osborne, but we think Osborne is going to be the oldest Premier Class champion, indoors or out, ever. He'll be 31 years old when and if he clinches the championship this weekend. So he'll be the first person in his 30s that we can count back to that is able to clinch a championship. Obviously, there's been a lot of guys that have won races past their age 30 season, no question about that, but the championship always a little bit more elusive once you move into that age 30 and on season. But Osborne proving everybody wrong and making a hell of a career out of something that was almost non-existent back in 2006. All right, let's move on to the 250 class, though. That one is a little bit more tighter, a little bit more interesting to talk about, but it had the potential to get a whole lot more frisky going into the final round, and it ultimately did not. I believe the gap now is 18 points that Ferrandis has on Jeremy Martin as they head into Pala this weekend for the finale. And it's weird because I felt like Martin in the second moto really had a huge opportunity, just kind of flopped onto his lap. Got a good start, was right there with Justin Cooper early on, and Ferrandis didn't get a good start and crashed. So he was a little further back at one point, to the point where had Martin gotten to the front and actually won the moto, he would have gotten a pretty good amount of points clawed back in his favor. Of course, Ferrandis was able to pick up the win in the first moto, and Martin was fourth, so that was already a big points loss in and of itself. But Martin just could not pass Justin Cooper. He just gave him everything he could handle and just couldn't quite make the pass happen on the number 32 machine. And Cooper able to pick up his first overall win of 2020, which was huge for him. It's been a really rough outdoor season for him. He had an injury that happened right after Supercross that he's talked about extensively that took him a while to get back into the swing of things. He only just got on the bike before outdoor started at Loretta's a month and a half ago now. So he really wasn't 100% coming in, and he had very minimal testing time as well. So finally looks like he's got the bike kind of dialed in. His fitness has come around a little bit. His riding seems to be getting better. And the Justin Cooper that we've seen year after year is now pretty much back to form, it seems, which is good to see. But like I said, Martin just couldn't quite make that pass stick, and it was a missed opportunity. Or at least it seemed to be a missed opportunity because Ferrandis was so far down the field for a little bit. But Ferrandis, once again, just like we saw at Ironman, puts on a ridiculous charge in the second half of the moto, starts clawing his way through people, gets to Hunter Lawrence and his teammate Shane McElrath for third. Late in the moto, just kind of stalks him for a while, waits for the opportunity to present itself, passes. Well, first of all, Lawrence passed McElrath to try to get away from Ferrandis, but Ferrandis took like 2 more corners to pass McElrath and go after Lawrence. And then Ferrandis just waited for his opportunity, got around Lawrence, and just kind of held him at bay while Lawrence made a couple mistakes, and Ferrandis was able to salvage a third of that moto. So in the end, only lost 2 points to Martin after he gained 7 points in the first moto. So it was a 5-point swing. Like I said, I believe it's at 18 points now. And Ferrandis, once again, in a very, very good position to clinch the championship this weekend. Now, the thing about it is, there's been this weird anomaly that's been going on over the years, over the decades, if you will, that more or less pertains to just French riders. Jean-Michel Bayle famously had I forget what it was in 1990 that caused him to miss out on, I think it was the 500cc title then, and then Sebastian Tortelli was maybe on his way to winning the 2000 outdoor title over Ricky Carmichael, which was Carmichael's rookie season on a 250, and Tortelli was really good and then got hurt. And then I remember I think Roncada that same year in 2000 in the 125 class also had the championship lead late into the season, and Travis Pastrana was able to come up and take it from him. And then I think everybody who watches these videos will remember in 2010, Christophe Pourcel goes into the finale at Paula with the championship lead over Trey Canard. Really doesn't need to do anything crazy, just needs to follow Canard home and score some good points on the day. And in the first moto, Pourcel crashes and breaks his collarbone, and Trey Canard wins his only national title that he ever won. So, hate to bring the bad black cat, I guess, across the screen here about this, but history has shown a bit of a weird trend when it comes to French riders trying to clinch this outdoor championship. Even 5 years ago, for example, just half a decade ago, Marvin Musquin, only 2 points behind Jeremy Martin coming into the final round, has a freak mechanical issue happen in the first moto at Ironman, is unable to contend for the title the rest of the day, likely cost him a chance at winning the championship. And again, another weird thing happens for Frenchmen. So, 18-point lead for Ferrandis, momentum on his side. He's got more points lately than J Mart. He's been winning more motos. He's been consistently winning more overalls down the stretch here. However, there is that little nuanced detail about the past with French riders trying to clinch the championship down the stretch that I just feel like needs to be brought up, because if he doesn't win the championship for whatever reason this weekend, whatever weird thing happens that would cause him to not win the title, it's going to go back into this weird trend in the history books about French riders not able to clinch the championship, and it's turning into one of those things that would be super weird if it happens that way. I don't think it is. I think that this is finally the decade that it breaks free and Ferrandis doesn't have any problems. and clinches this title. We'll see. You never really do know until they drop the gate, which is why they drop the gate at every round, make things a little bit more interesting. And yeah, looking forward to the Paula National. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk about with this. First of all, Ferrandis and Osborne are both 2-digit riders. Number 16 for Osborne, number 14 for Ferrandis. Now, Ferrandis has not ever had the opportunity to pick a single digit. If you win a regional Supercross title, you are not granted the ability to pick a single digit number. But if you win a national championship, you are, which Osborne already has. He won in 250 national championship back in 2017 and elected not to pick a single digit then and stuck with number 16. So a lot of people believe that Osborne, even if he wins this championship, obviously he'll run number 1 next year, but people think he will still stick with the number 16 and run that for the years to come and won't pick a single digit, but he has the opportunity to pick one if he wants. More or less, people are thinking Ferrandis might pick a single digit, and it would probably come down to number 8 for him. 5 and 8 are available, even though everybody thinks maybe Ryan Dungey's coming back and is going to try to use some sort of provision to keep number 5. But Ferrandis was number 108 when he came over here, of course. He was number 4 in Europe for a while. He was number 122 when he first made his debut in Europe. So he's got this kind of weird history of going all over the board with numbers. But Ferrandis seems to appeal more commonly to even numbers than odd numbers. He's never picked an odd number himself. Always picked an even number when he's got the chance. So 8 seems more likely with the 108, with the 4, maybe 4 times 2. I don't know. Like, it's always weird to try to pick out what these guys are thinking. But just keep that in mind, that Ferrandis may take 8 and fill out the grid next year, which if Dungey comes back and he is able to take 5, it would be the first time, I think, since they used to dole out numbers based on finishing position from the year before. So, like, you know, McGrath was number 1 forever, but he was actually number 2 because they gave him the first number that wasn't the championship number. So McGrath was number 2 for a long time. And then, you know, there was the years where Emig was number 3, Lusk was number 4, LaRocca was number 5, Larry Ward was number 6, Greg Albertine number 7, Kevin Windham number 8. You know, things like that through the years, and then they went to this permanent number system. And I think if Dungey comes back and picks 5 and Ferrandis picks 8, that next year would be the first year since those days that we'd have all these single digits filled out. Obviously, it's Webb number 2, Tomac number 3, Baggett number 4, Dungey would be 5, 6 is J Mart, 7 is Plessinger, 8 would potentially be Ferrandis, and 9 is Cianciarulo. So just kind of a cool little nuanced detail to think about there. And the last thing I wanted to end the video talking about, because it was the kind of story for whatever reason from Thunder Valley. I have no idea why it ended up being such like a big deal. But Justin Cooper, after winning the moto, he had drove out to Colorado, I believe, with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend and him brought their dog. So Cooper brought his dog up on the podium to take the trophy photos with, as the trophy sat in front of him and he held up his dog instead of holding a trophy. To which Jet Lawrence took acceptance to that and posted, "Yeah, real professional to bring your dog on the podium when you win a race," and da-da-da-da-da-da. So then Justin Cooper, this is all on social media on Saturday night, responded to Jet Lawrence on social media with a picture of Jet bringing donuts onto the podium. Because remember, that was a thing Lawrence did in his amateur days a lot, was bringing donuts onto the podium. And said, "Yeah, you really are one to talk about professionalism with the donuts." And then Jet Lawrence responds that, whatever, it was amateur days, you know, grow up, blah, 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 blah. So they went back and forth, and then it turned into a whole thing that I really thought was kind of stupid on Lawrence's part. Like, who cares if he brings a dog on the podium? Like, I don't know. I love my dog. I would probably bring my dog on the podium if my dog was there. Like, why not? Who cares? But apparently that struck a nerve with people. And Steve Mathis did an article over on RacerXOnline.com, his observations article, and he actually anonymously asked several industry personnel. I'm not going to say who exactly he asked or anything along those lines, but he just asked industry people what they thought of the dog on the podium. And surprisingly, a lot of people anonymously thought it was stupid. I am kind of taken aback by that. Like, that just doesn't... I guess I don't really get it. Like, why... These guys, all the time, all of us fans ask for personality, more personality. Give us more personality. Can we please have more personality out of these riders? And then the riders give us personality by bringing their dog on the podium or bringing donuts on the podium. And it turns into a fiasco of epic proportions for no apparent reason. Like, I don't get why this is a thing even, but I don't get why Lawrence was mad, because he's one of the people that also shows his personality at all times. So I don't know. The whole thing seems stupid to me. But I guess I might as well ask you guys where you stand on it. It's not the comment question of the day, but did you think it was stupid that Justin Cooper brought his dog on the podium? Does it make the sport look dumb? I don't know. I don't think any of those things, but I get it. Some people have different opinions, and I'm not the one that says I'm the end-all be-all by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, I just wanted to bring it up and I guess kind of rehash it a little bit, ask your guys' thoughts, what you thought of it, and yeah, go on from there. But anyway, yeah, headed to Paula this weekend. It sounds like I will actually be in attendance, but I'm not. I'm supposed to kind of be working, but I'm going to be working, quote unquote, to go to the National. Obviously going to go there Friday and kind of peruse the pits a little bit more and talk to some people, so that'll be more of my work day, and then Saturday I'll work a little bit but be around the track. So if you happen to run into me, I'll probably have a mask on. I have a newborn daughter, so I'm trying to keep her safe, so I'll say hi to you and stuff like that. But looking forward to going to the finale this weekend, and yeah, ending this season on a high note. Ukasoa Pro Motocross almost done, almost behind us, and what a wide old season it has been. So I've got Osborne and Francis clinching the titles this weekend. I'll say Ciancirlo wins the 450 class, and I will say that Hunter Lawrence wins the 250 class. I'll go off the wall. Almost won a moto at Paula last year. Seems like he's been getting in his groove a little bit lately. So Ciancirlo and Lawrence are my overall winners at Paula, and I say that Osborne and Francis take home the championships. So yeah, that's your lot from the Thunder Valley National now behind us. Appreciate you guys always stopping by, checking out another video here on Start Your Systems. Hope you guys enjoyed this one as always, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.